Hey everybody, this is Mr. Marsh and Miss Clemens with another U.S. History Flipped. This one is going to be our second video in the industrialization series. So here we go. So last time we talked about some corporations and some different types of businesses that were going on. Now we're going to talk about the people, the top dogs, like the dudes that are really important, that really got these businesses going. And they are the entrepreneurs, the people who create their own businesses. And there's going to be a couple of them that we talk about. The first guy we got here is Andrew Carnegie. So you guys may know of Carnegie Hall. He's the one that started it up. Right? And he loved steel. Right there you have Rockefeller. You have Rockefeller Center. This guy, all about railroads. Next you have J.P. Morgan, who looks kind of angry, but yeah. And he was all about banks, loved the banks. And Vanderbilt, who wasn't as big as the other three, but we still love him, because he's in Hyde Park. And he also loves railroads. And he had an amazing forehead. We can never forget that forehead. So first we have Carnegie, and of course the gear is there, so this is something that you should be writing down, and you can always pause to do so. And he had steel and railroads, and he was all about vertical integration. Now, there's different types of integration. This particular one means that you own the businesses that you need to operate your main business. So, if he's going to own railroads, he would have to pay somebody to do maintenance on those railroads. So, instead of paying somebody and having them make a profit, he buys that company, and now he's getting maintenance on his railroads for just cost. He doesn't have to pay them any extra that they're putting into their pocket. That means that he gets more money. He may need to own a company that makes steel. So he buys a steel company. Now he no longer has to pay some other company and have them make the profits. He gets the steel at cost, which increases the amount of money that he has. Railroads need fuel. They need coal. So he's going to buy up a coal company, and then he's going to get the coal at cost, and he doesn't have to give them money for their profits. And he increases his, and it just keeps on going, and he just gets to be so rich. I mean, smoking cigars wrapped in $100 bills and all sorts of crazy stuff like that. Just so much money. Right. This right here, there's going to be a slide like this for each of these guys. Not going to go into it. It's just some extra information if you're interested on what he did. Right. And of course, you can always pause it right now and take a closer look. There's Carnegie again. And this is just a picture of one of his many factories. Now, these things were huge. I mean, these entire towns of just factories. And as you can tell, there's a lot of smog all through here. That's all that smoke from all the different factories, because nobody had really figured out pollution yet. I mean, you got to kind of wonder how, because you just walk outside the factory and you can't really see the air around you because it's all filled with smoke. They just didn't know yet. It was something that was brand new. Right? This is one of his many, many houses, which is a mansion. Right? Very, very nice, very, very decadent, very, very extravagant. Lots of money that's over the top, not really needed. But he had the money, so he spent it, and he got some really nice things. This is another one of his houses, another mansion. This one I personally find very pleasing. It's a really cool looking house, although it's way too big. Can you imagine how many people it takes just to run that place and clean it? Man. Right? And this is one of the many libraries. A lot of these guys they really took advantage of their workers, but they also did put a lot of money into public works, which is something we're going to talk about a little bit later on. Another one of his many, many buildings. This guy had tons of them all over the place. This one I think is probably the most over the top, especially with this little thingy up top on it. I wonder what color that is. Looks kind of yellow or orange. I don't know. But yeah. Next we have Rockefeller. And the business that he owned was called Standard Oil. And he was all about horizontal integration, which is owning many of the same types of businesses. So this is where you get the real monopolies going. Because if you make oil and you sell oil, and the guy next door sells oil. If he sells it at a lower price, everybody's going to buy his oil and not yours. So that means that you have to lower your price so that people come and buy your oil and you make a profit. And that's what competition is. It makes it so that people have to lower their prices so that you buy their stuff. But if you buy the company next door, there's nobody to compete against you. So now you can keep your prices wherever you want. And that's exactly what Rockefeller did. He just made sure that everybody didn't sell oil. He was the only guy in town. So he could set the prices for whatever he wanted and made tons of money. Right here is some more background info if you're interested. Of course, you can pause it to read through. And right here we have a couple of different things. We have a picture of Rockefeller right here. We have one of his buildings over in, I believe that's New York City. This one right here I believe is on Long Island, which is a beautiful place. And this right here is a political cartoon. You know, you have Rockefeller right here, and he's kind of holding, I believe that's the White House in his hand, and you have the Capitol building in the background and all these oil drums. You know, these guys had so much money that a lot of people had problems with not only the way they treated their workers, which was horrible, but also the fact that they could just control the government, you know, because they had so much money, they had so many people working for them, they had a lot of power. Some say a lot, some say too much. Then we have J.P. Morgan. Now, he was into a lot of different things. He was in the steel, he was in the railroads, but he was mainly into banks. You know, even nowadays, there's J.P. Morgan and Chase. So, I mean, he really knew his stuff, and he somehow always has scary eyes. Yeah, okay. Some background information on him. There's J.P. Morgan again. And this is another one of those political cartoons. Now, whenever you see somebody like big, fat, you know that they're trying to show greed in a political cartoon. And you have a ladder going all the way up to his mouth that says 11 hours a day, and a child who's just feeding him profits, and 11 hours a day on the bottom. Like, if you can imagine when you were 10 years old, 10, working 11 hours a day in a factory. That's crazy. And the reason they did that was because they could pay children less. And there weren't any child labor laws at the time, so there was no problem with it. You know, if a machine suddenly got a snag in it, the children have smaller hands, so they'd be the one to reach in and try to grab it. You lose your hand? Oh well, they hire another child. There's no benefits, there's no disability, you're just stuck living the rest of your life without a hand and making less money and maybe starving. And they just didn't care. Pretty rough. Right. This is another picture of the buildings that he had. Pretty awesome, considering they're really nice and he had lots of money that he got from taking advantage of people. Another one of his places, and I believe this one is also on Long Island, but I could be wrong. And just, I mean, so much money just like showing it off, but they had it. This is a library inside one of his houses, I believe. Again, very, very beautiful, very, very over the top. And we have Vanderbilt. Right. Now, any of you guys that have been to Hyde Park will actually recognize this house because it's not too far away. Pretty sweet. The man of the amazing forehead. I also love his like mutton chops right here, especially in this picture. Right. And this is another political cartoon. You know, he's standing astride the railroads, kind of like holding like leashes on them where he controls it. You know, a lot of people had a lot of problems with the amount of control that these guys had because it was pretty ridiculous. Now, there were several attitudes when it came to how people viewed big business. Now, one of them is laissez-faire, which you guys might remember from Global, which is that the government should interfere as little as possible in the nation's economy. You have the economy, and you have the government, and they stay apart, separation. You know, the government shouldn't interfere. You know, and sometimes that's good because, you know, you should let people do whatever businesses they want to do and let the economy grow on its own. But at the same time, if the people who run the economy start taking advantage of people and forming monopolies and, you know, the super rich or just control everything, maybe the government needs to step in. So it kind of can go either way. And then you also have social Darwinism, the theory that in society it is the survival of the fittest. If you work hard, you will succeed. If you are not successful, it's because you're stupid and or lazy. And this is an attitude that was really, really big at the time. You know, these captains of industry, these robber barons, these Carnegie, Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, all these guys that made so much money were like, hey, we did it. We worked hard. We made our money. If you guys didn't, too bad. You deserve to be taken advantage of. And that's not a very nice thing to say. Because maybe it wasn't the fact that you worked hard and you were smarter. Maybe it's because you were just lucky and at the right place at the right time. It doesn't mean that somebody else is lazy or stupid. You know, maybe they just have a different value system. Doesn't mean you can take advantage of them. But a lot of people had this outlook at the time. And this slide is what's going to start the next one. So once again, guys, I hope that you enjoyed the video, and good luck on getting through the rest of them. Remember, you can always pause, go back, whatever you need to do. Have a good one.